Been a lot of requests for this, so I'm going to take a shot at it. The resurrection of Claude Giroux's career has been impressive. And it's worth looking back at his career, because he's had a solid long run, and he is on pace for probably at least consideration for Hall of Fame at the end of his career if he maintains this pace for, I'd say, another 3-4 years. He just turned 30 years of age, so there's a possibility he can still do it. The important thing, too, is his scoring is up, even despite his age. This is usually when guys start to decline. So his first year in the league, he plays 2 games in the regular season. The Flyers went to the 3rd round. That's what these numbers are for. And he didn't play in the playoffs that year. So he's a rookie, famously drafted 22nd overall by Bobby Clarke, who couldn't pronounce his name. Because the guy that Bobby Clarke wanted wasn't available, so he's like, all right, we'll just take this guy. And what a smart move that was. Giroux turned out to be a pretty shrewd move by Bobby Clarke, who wasn't always known for shrewd moves at the draft table. In his technical rookie season, 42 games, he didn't play the whole season. That's why I'm saying technical. 9 goals, 18 assists, 27 points. They only made it to the first round. Giroux became kind of known as a half-decent player during that season. I don't recall any of us necessarily being wowed at that point. I mean, he put up really good numbers in junior, but as I keep saying, when a guy puts up good numbers in junior, I don't necessarily look at that and go, he's going to be a star, because there's been too many cases where I've thought that and I've been wrong. 2009-10 season, 82 games, 16 goals, 31 assists, 47 points. They made the finals that year. In that run to the finals, Giroux had 23 games played, 10 goals, 11 assists, 21 points. That's his coming out party, boys and girls. That's when Giroux became a known entity. He became a known star at the NHL level, and there really wasn't any turning back from that. I think we all understood this was his breakout. There wasn't any concern that I know of that this was maybe just a fluke run in the playoffs and he was going to fall back during the season. He had a nice casual progression. This is why, again, when you start talking about guys being busts, remember he gets drafted in 2006 and it's 4 years later before he starts to show that potential, and it's 5 years later before his totals reflect that potential. So don't be quick to say, this guy's a bust, he hasn't come up yet. They drafted him 3 weeks ago, he hasn't played a game yet. 2010-2011, he has 76 points in 82 games, and they make it to round 2. This is around when we also realized not only the star that Giroux was, but the agitator he was. His ability to knock other teams' best players off their game. He got famous for knocking Sidney Crosby off of his game, for instance. And just the entire Penguins in general, giving them headaches regularly. In 2011-12, he has 77 games, 28 goals, 65 assists, 93 points. This is his benchmark offensively. This is his best season. Right now he's on pace to better that season, but the term being on pace. I do suspect he'll probably slow down somewhat in the second half. I don't think he's a 100-point player at this stage of his career. Maybe he has that Patrick Kane season from a couple years ago. Kane out of nowhere scores over 100 points. But I do think he'll slow down. But 93 points is decent. 28 goals, 65 assists. This guy thrives on setting people up. The nice thing with Philly is you've got him and you got Voracek, and they're both fantastic at setting other people up. And so their teammates are going to love having them around because the more goals they score, the better contract they're going to get at the end of it. You know how that ends. In 2012-2013, he has 48 points in 48 games, 13 goals. Of course, that's the lockout-shortened season. He played very well, but Philly didn't, and they were out of the playoffs. The following year, Philly's back in the playoffs. He has 86 points in 82 games. 28 of those are goals. He's never scored more than 28 goals. He's not a goal scorer. He is primarily a setup guy. 14-15, this is when things start to fall. This is when people start to talk. Because he goes from, he's 93 points here, he's a point a game here, then 86 and 82, so he goes up a little bit in terms of points per game. But he drops down to 71 the following season. 25 of those are goals. In 15-16, they make the playoffs. He has 67 points in 78 games. But again, his points per game is dropping. And then last year, the team didn't play particularly well overall that season. They had the 10-game winning streak in the middle of it. But that's Philly goes on those win streaks and lose streaks. And you can't make hide nor hair of them. 58 points at the end of that season. Only 14 of them are goals. The lowest goal total he had in a non-lockout shortened season. Outside of his rookie year where he only played 42 games. And for a guy who doesn't get counted on for goals, that 14 was a pretty low benchmark. And it had a lot of people talking in the offseason about maybe it's time to trade Giroux. I was never in that camp. You can look through all of my videos during the summer and I never said, well, you know, if the Flyers trade Giroux. Giroux is fantastic when he's on. And this year, 54 points in 44 games. He's already got 14 goals to equal last year's. And he's 4 assists total of last year's total. And he's played 38 less games. Last year, I think, was an outlier. The season before, if he'd played 82 games, he probably would have had 70 points. We wouldn't be hearing so much about the downward trend. Look, it goes from 8, 7, 6, 5. So that first column, all people look at when they look at the point totals is that first column. They say, oh boy, next season it's going to be 49 points. And that's not always the way it works. You got to give a guy a shot at a comeback. I mean, Dustin Brown had the comeback too. So quite the comeback season for Claude Giroux. Now, what Ron Hextall needs to do is get this man back into the playoffs. He is so much fun in the playoffs, and get him a team that's capable of doing something. And then get him a microphone. Maybe make him the color guy during the game while he's on the ice. I think that would be hilarious to listen to. He's a fun player to watch when he's playing well. He is a shift disturber. He is a player who just played his 700th game. Sits with 629 career points. And in the playoffs, he's played 63 games, 23 goals, 69 assists, 62 points. When you're around a point a game in the playoffs, you're pretty darn good in the playoffs. You're a good player. And I'm not surprised to see goals per game being a little bit higher than necessarily during most of his seasons, just because he's a big game guy. Now the question becomes, how long does he stay in Philly? How much more does he play in Philly? Does he eventually get to the point where he wants to win a Stanley Cup? We're not there yet. We're probably not there yet for at least 2 or 3 more years. And Philly, the idea of Philly ever even investigating a trade, I'd be stunned. If Ron Hextall's ever picked up the phone, called a GM, and said, hey, we're listening to offers on Claude Giroux. I don't think it's ever happened, and I don't think it ever will. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. And hey, thank you guys for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.